Hello students, welcome to the lecture on leadership. And after this lecture, we will be able to learn the following objectives. Explain the concepts of leadership, discuss leadership development model and its process, describe the contemporary views on leadership, understand the charismatic visionary leadership. Let's start with the concept leadership. Leadership is like beauty, difficult to define, but most people recognize it when they see it. One can interpret leadership broadly and state that a leader is someone who touches another's future. With this interpretation, leaders are clearly recognizable as those who affect the direction a person or group will take. Leadership and management. Overview of leadership and management. Leadership and management roles and functions, taking responsibility, managerial styles and skills, managing change, nature of and reasons for change, effects of change, how staff copes with change, attitudes to change, initiating and managing change, leading and managing people, inspiring, motivating, supporting and helping people to grow in their roles and achieve their potential, building and supporting the team. The nature of teams, individual differences and team role preferences is helping people work together, coaching and managing well-being. Leadership is a great quality and it can create and convert anything. In the words of Theo Hammond, leadership is the process by which an executive imaginatively directs, guides and influences the work of others in choosing and attaining specified goals by mediating between the individuals and the organization in such a manner that both will obtain maximum satisfaction.
Eleanor Roosevelt, Mahatma Gandhi, Abraham Lincoln. What do these people have in common? Well, each was a universally recognized leader. They've all been lauded for their people skills and incredible talent, and they all had an especially preternatural knack for diplomacy, combining groups of people that, in many cases, didn't really get along. And each was an introvert. Yes, Wellcasters, today we've got another Myers-Briggs episode for you. If you don't know what the heck we're talking about, click over here. Today, we're going to dispel the myth that introverts can't be great leaders and show you introverted qualities that successful leaders of all Myers-Briggs types should have. Really, the best thing any leader can do is capitalize on their individual strengths. As Susan Cain says in Quiet, The Power of Introverts in a World That Can't Stop Talking, in the long run, staying true to your temperament is the key to finding work you love and work that matters. It's a common misconception that only extroverts make for natural leaders. But in fact, introverts have certain innate strengths that also lend themselves to excellent leadership. 1. Introverts think before they speak. Often, conflicts between a lot of people are only made worse by the fact that everyone is talking and nobody's listening. When this happens, most soft-spoken people, sometimes the people with the most valid opinions, by the way, are lost in the din. Introverted leaders, however, tend to first contemplate all sides of the argument, giving everyone a chance to express their point of view before forming an opinion. 2. Introverts make an effort to place substance over personality. Let's face it, extroverts love people. And they love meeting new people and hanging out with large groups of people. And that means they're more susceptible to make judgments based on charisma and personality. I really like that guy. You might hear an extrovert say, he seems like a lot of fun. Introverts are more likely to judge a person or a situation based on objective, demanding criteria. We'll defer to a particularly effective introvert president, Abe Lincoln, who, after taking office, actually hired his political rivals to be on his cabinet. These people had, frankly, not said anything nice about him while he was on the campaign trail, but Lincoln put aside his personal feelings to concentrate on the larger issue at hand. 3. Introverts are great at anticipating and reacting to change. Introverts tend to live in a world of possibility. The energy that they don't always expend talking and socializing, they put into introspection, imagining the ways in which a certain situation might unfold, weighing decisions, contemplating the consequences of certain incidents. When plans change, introverts are often equipped for what comes next. This is why there are great introverted leaders in the tech world, where the ability to pivot, as they say, is a huge asset. And hey, look no further than introverted business tycoons Warren Buffett and Bill Gates. These guys built their careers on anticipating what's next. 4. Focus is everything. Introverts aren't easily distracted. In fact, they're more likely to devote their undivided attention to a project, whereas extroverts are often plagued by what's been called, "Ooh, what's that?" syndrome. Whatever the project, a leader needs to keep his team on task, not lead them from objective to objective without seeing each task through to completion. To recap, if you're an introvert, it's not always easy to live in an extrovert's world. But did you know that you have some awesome qualities that make you a great leader? Okay, for one, you listen instead of talking, which I can do. And you carefully weigh others' opinions before you make your own decision. You're less likely to be swayed by charisma. You're better at being prepared for unexpected situations. And you aren't easily distracted from your goals. Keep this in mind, introverts and extroverts alike. The best way to lead is to know and play to your strengths.
Let us now discuss leadership. Leadership is the process by which a person influences others to accomplish an objective and directs the organization in a way that makes it more cohesive and coherent. Program directors and managers can use this resource to inspire staff to higher levels of teamwork. This chapter defines concepts of leadership in terms of what a leader must be, know, and do. Another popular definition of leadership is a process whereby an individual influences a group of individuals to achieve a common goal. Leaders carry out this process by applying their leadership knowledge and their skills. This is called process leadership. However, we know that we have traits that can influence our actions. This is called trait leadership, in that it was once common to believe that leaders were born rather than made. Good leaders are made, not born. If we have the desire and willpower, we can become an effective leader. Good leaders develop through a never-ending process of self-study, education, training, and experience. To inspire workers into higher levels of teamwork, there are certain things we must be, know, and do. These do not come naturally, but are acquired through continual work and study. Good leaders are continuously working and studying to improve their leadership skills. They are not resting on their laurels. While leadership is learned, the skills and the knowledge processed by the leader can be influenced by his or her attributes or traits, such as his beliefs, values, ethics, and character. Knowledge and skills contribute directly to the process of leadership, while the other attributes give the leader a certain characteristic that make him or her unique. Factors of leadership. Some people are natural-born leaders. They may emerge as leaders when none exists or when a group recognizes and trusts their innate ability to lead in a given situation more than a formally appointed leader. Others can acquire leadership qualities through education, coaching, mentoring, and experience. Knowing the characteristic of a good leader can help to develop those skills and help organizations to cultivate leaders. There are 4 primary factors of leadership. Strategic thinking. To be an effective leader, we need a combination of management skills and vision. Good leaders understand and stay focused on where an organization is headed and are committed to its long-term success and the success of everyone involved. Good leaders align their activities to a clearly defined mission and vision and make strategic decisions based on sound data and proven practices. Communication skills. Strong leaders use listening, speaking, and writing skills and keep communication open, honest, and genuine at all levels of the organization. They communicate a mission, a vision, and values and share information often openly, clearly, and with confidence and passion. Collaborative style. Effective leaders develop and maintain strong relationships based on cooperation, ethical behavior, respect for diversity, and commitment to the success of all individuals. Professional standards. Good leaders model and uphold high ethical business standards and practices at all levels of an organization. Principles of leadership. Principles of leadership guide, expand, and provide tools for implementing. Know ourselves and seek self-improvement. In order to know ourselves, we have to understand our known and do attributes. Be technically proficient. As a leader, we must know our job and have a solid familiarity with our employees' tasks. Seek responsibility and take responsibility for our actions. search for ways to guide our organization to new heights, keep our workers informed, know how to communicate with not only them but also seniors and other key people. Develop a sense of responsibility in our workers. Help to develop good character traits that will help them carry out their professional responsibilities. Roles and relationships. Roles are the positions that are defined by a set of expectations about behavior of any job incumbent. Each role has a set of tasks and responsibilities that may or may not be spelled out. Roles have a powerful effect on behavior for several reasons, to include money being paid for the performance of the role, there is prestige attached to a role, and a sense of accomplishment or challenge. Relationships are determined by a role's tasks. While some tasks are performed alone, most are carried out in relationship with others. The tasks will determine who the role holder is required to interact with, how often, and towards what end. Functions of a leader. According to Peter Drucker, an effective leader is one who can make ordinary men do extraordinary things. They can make common people do uncommon things. The important function of a business leader may be briefly summarized as to take the initiative. A leader initiates all the measures that are necessary for the purpose of ensuring the health and progress of the undertaking in a competitive economy. He should not expect others to guide or direct him. He identifies group goals. A leader must always help the group identify and attain their goals. Thus, a leader is a good setter. To encourage teamwork, a leader must try to win the confidence of his subordinates. He must act like the captain of a team. He manages the organization. Last but not the least, he administers the undertaking by arranging for the forecast, planning, organization, direction, coordination, and control of its.
Whether you want to climb up the leadership ladder or just become a great manager, knowing your personality is an important first step to understanding how to improve your performance at work. Perhaps you love working in a team but hate speaking in front of large groups of people. Maybe you enjoy helping people to develop but dread having to address poor performance. Or it could be that you love a job of variety but are hopeless when it comes to organisation. Whatever your unique combinations of traits, our Leadership Ladder service will explain your typical behaviour and demonstrate how to build on your strengths whilst limiting your weaknesses. From this, you will begin to understand how you come across to other people and what steps you need to take to become a more effective leader. This will dramatically enhance your career prospects and assist you in beginning your journey towards the top of the leadership ladder.
Now, moving on to the next topic, we will study the leadership development model and its process. The importance of leader development cannot be emphasized enough. Organizations must proactively pursue leader development activities to improve their chances of success in the future. Leadership model. In understanding the leadership model presented here, it is necessary to assume that the leadership development group has already been formed and the group intends to engage in some form of change action project as the primary vehicle for developing leadership skills. Work began on this model in 1994. This model continues to be worked on, having undergone 3 versions already. The initial research was done at the Higher Education Research Institute, UCLA. The model attempts to integrate already established leadership development concepts. The model is inclusive in it that it is designed to enhance the development of leadership qualities in all participants, those who hold formal leadership positions as well as those who do not, and to promote a process that is inclusive and actively engages all who wish to contribute. Leadership is viewed as a process rather than as a position. The model explicitly promotes the values of equity, social justice, self-knowledge, personal empowerment, collaboration, citizenship, and service. The model has 2 primary goals: to enhance student learning and development, more specifically to develop in each student greater self-knowledge, understanding of one's talents, values, interests, especially as these relate to the student's capacity to provide effective leadership. Leadership competence, the capacity to mobilize oneself and others to serve and work collaboratively, to facilitate positive social change at the institution or in the community. Let's now know the contemporary views on leadership. Contemporary leadership issues come in many varieties: transactional and transformational theories. Transformational leadership is closer to the prototype of leadership that people have in mind when they describe their ideal leader, and it is more likely to provide a role model with which subordinates want to identify. Transactional leadership has been the traditional model of leadership with its root from an organizational or business perspective in the bottom line. The goal of transformational leadership is to transform people and organizations in the literal sense, to change them in mind and heart, enlarge their vision, insight, and understanding, clarify purposes, make behavior congruent with beliefs, principles or values, and bring about changes that are permanent, self-perpetuating, and momentum-building. Transactional analysis of leadership. Assumptions. People are motivated by reward and punishment. Social systems work best with a clear chain of command. When people have agreed to do a job, a part of the deal is that they cede all authority to the manager. The prime purpose of a subordinate is to do what the manager tells them to do. Style. The transactional leader works through creating clear structures whereby it is clear what is required of their subordinates and the rewards that they get for following orders. Punishments are not always mentioned, but they are also well understood, and formal systems of discipline are usually in place. The early stage of transactional leadership is in negotiating the contract, whereby the subordinate is given a salary and other benefits, and the company, and by implication the subordinate's manager, gets authority over the subordinate. The transactional leader often uses management by exception, working on the principle that if something is operating to defined and hence expected performance, then it does not need attention. Exceptions to expectations require praise and reward for exceeding expectation, while some kind of corrective action is applied for performance below expectation. Discussion. Transactional leadership is based in contingency, in that reward or punishment is contingent upon performance. Despite much research that highlights its limitations, transactional leadership is still a popular approach with many managers. Indeed, in the leadership versus management spectrum, it is very much towards the management end of the scale. Power. Power is the capacity to influence the attitudes or behaviors of others. It is a relationship between two parties, which could be individuals, groups, organizations, or even countries, that serves to define the interactions of the parties. The concept of power is inherently implied in the process of leadership. Power, as we understand the term in this context, is one's ability to exert influence, that is, to change the attitude or behavior of individuals and the groups. There are 5 possible bases of power, which are reward power, coercive power, legitimate power, referent power, and expert power. The greater the number of these power sources available, the greater is one's potential for effective leadership. Let us try to understand each of these power sources. Reward power. It is based on the subordinate's perception that the leader has the ability to control rewards that the followers are looking for. For example, leaders' ability to influence the decisions regarding pay, promotion, praise, recognition, increased responsibilities, allocation and arrangement of work, granting of privileges, etc. Coercive power. It is based on fear and the subordinate's perception that the leader has the ability to punish or to cause an unpleasant experience for those who do not comply with directives. Conflict organizations can be thought of as arenas for staging conflicts, with conflict as the essence of what the organization is. In this way of thinking, conflict is not a byproduct of normal operations or an unintended and unwanted consequence of day-to-day activities, but the way the organization makes choices for future action, makes changes in power relationships, and keeps itself flexible and adaptive. Managing conflict. Several ways of reducing conflict or managing conflict are available to the manager. Structural changes. Conflict between groups is common in organizations. Mechanisms for resolving the intergroup conflicts include the following: lessening the interdependence between the groups. Physical separation of groups can reduce their conflict. The separation of their workflows by buffering the creation of inventory between the units so their workflow is less interdependent will also reduce conflict. Authoritative command from someone in the organization's hierarchy above both the groups. Essentially, an order is given to cooperate. Charismatic visionary leadership. To quote Max Weber, charisma is a certain quality of an individual personality by virtue of which he is set apart from ordinary men and treated as endowed with supernatural, superhuman, or at least specifically exceptional powers or qualities. According to Max Weber, charismatic leadership is resting on devotion to the exceptional sanctity, heroism, or exemplary character of an individual person and of the normative patterns or order revealed or ordained by him. Qualities of a charismatic leader. The charismatic leader gathers followers through dint of personality and charm rather than any form of external power of authority. Some prominent qualities of a charismatic leader are vision, speech, high principles, emotional sensitivity. Advantages and disadvantages of charismatic leadership. Advantages: ability to affect change, energetic and driving leader, sensitivity to people's emotions, supportive environment, vision and articulation. Disadvantages: lack of clarity, over-reliance on leader, failure of vision, misarticulating goals, poor management, autonomy, broken trust. Charismatic versus transformational leader. Charismatic leader influences the followers with the dint of his personality and charm, whereas transformational leader inspires change through his vision and passion to get things done. Charismatic leader is the head of the show, whereas transformational leader is open to followers, input and participation. In case of charismatic leadership, the vision fulfillment happens by stimulating followers to leader's vision, and in contrast, under transformational leadership, vision fulfillment is inclusive of both follower and leader's vision. 4 C's of leadership. Following are brief definitions of each of the 4 C's. Consciousness. Consciousness of self means being aware of the beliefs, values, attitudes and emotions that motivates one to take action. Congruences refers to thinking, feeling and behaving with consistency, genuineness, authenticity and honesty towards others. Congruent persons are those whose actions are consistent with their most deeply held beliefs and convictions. Clearly, personal congruence and consciousness of self are interdependent. Collaborations. Collaboration is to work with others at a common effort. It constitutes the cornerstone value of the group leadership effort because it empowers self and others through trust. Citizenship is the process whereby the individual and the collaborative group become responsibly connected to the community and the society through the leadership development activity. Now in the end, let us summarize what we have learned in this lecture. Leadership is a process by which a person influences others to accomplish an objective and directs the organization in a way that makes it more cohesive and coherent. Strong leaders use listening, speaking and writing skills and keep communication open, honest and genuine at all levels of the organization. Effective leaders develop and maintain strong relationships based on cooperation, ethical behavior, respect for diversity, and commitment to the success of all individuals. Transactional leadership has been the traditional model of leadership with its root from an organizational or business perspective in the bottom line. A leader represents the organization and its purpose, ideals, philosophy, and problems to those working for it and to the outside world.